Good morning to everyone. It's Friday morning. It is the 1st of May. I have done a little bit of training the past week. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But this video is going to be about what I do to try and keep my body in check. Recently, I've made a bit more of a conscious effort to cool down, stretch, warm up before runs. I'm going on a run today and a swim later. So I'm just going to show you some little techniques that I do that allow me to hopefully stay injury free and what I'll be continuing to do from now on. But one of the most important things is hydration. Our tendons and our ligaments and our muscles get dehydrated quite easily, especially our tendons. So it's important that you stay hydrated. So in the morning, get yourself 500 to 700 mils of water and chug it basically. Get it down you before you even drink anything, before you eat anything. Don't have a coffee or anything unless you've had your water. And then once you've got it done, a good quarter to a fifth of your water consumption for the day is done. I'm gonna drink this, make breakfast, put some washing on. So I'll leave you watch some of my training from the last few days, and then I'll get back to you when we go to what this video is about. Up the Mai Tai, good go. Keeping it on and keeping it deep, and struggling. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, it was pretty tough. I think you said it best with anyone who can run that from the bottom to the top is an absolute sicko. I was thinking the same, but on a bike. If anyone can ride it, it's like you're flying backwards half the time. Absolutely ridiculous. But the view is pretty spectacular, even on a dark, dusty, windy day.
That was a lactate absolute burner.
Yeah.
My hill running is really poor, so that's probably good for me to do that because my lactate threshold's average.
I'll be taking the next couple of days off, I'd say.
Yeah, same up. What a day to go for a run. Sunday, I am just getting ready to go for a run, as you can see. Probably just running my boxers, but just coasting now. I'll show you what I'm gonna have on the run. So I've got this water bottle which has got about 2 scoops, 2.5 probably, final scoops of pure carbohydrate and electrolyte drink, which I will leave at the bottom of the road here because I'm planning to do probably 2 loops of something, and I need a drink halfway. I don't mind stopping and pausing my Strava for 2 minutes so that I can get in 500 mils of electrolytes and carbohydrates so I can keep going. And then I'll run with this. It's just a little pouch which will have these SIS electrolyte tablets with 75 megs of caffeine. It is about 1/2, so that should be fine for me. It's about the equivalent of a coffee. And I'll run with that and probably try and get that down me after maybe 4K, 5K, half of that, and then electrolytes half time and carbohydrates, and then run again. The aim's about 15-16K today. Nothing too hectic, but yeah, looking forward to it. So I'm just warming up my glutes, trying to get them firing. I'll foam roll my back, and then I'm just going to do some warm-ups going up and down the hill by my house, and then I'll do a few calf raises, really try and warm the calves up, and then rip into it. So I've run the flat, it's about 5k to here, and now it's starting to go uphill. So
For anyone in Nelson, I ran from the Fountain Backpackers to end of Tahuna Nui Drive, and now I'm cutting up the Ridgeway and then down into Vincent Street. When I hit the hills, I'm going to slow a bit, but I've been running 450s, so if I can stay below 510, I know when I come down I'll make it up, so that's the plan. Whoa, over the Ridgeway. So I had half of that after 4k, I've just had another half after 8. So remember, that's the electrolyte SIS with a bit of caffeine. And now I'm on the downhill. I managed to get up that first K 5:14, second K 4:58. So pleased with that. Now it's downhill back to town. I like to relax and let my legs do the work. So that's it. I think it's about 11.5k. I feel real good. I think I'm averaging about a 450, so I know I've got it in the bag now. So this last 3.5k, 15, sorry. Yeah, 3.5k. I'm just going to focus on my breath, my posture, and just striding through with my head down. Sometimes when I get tired, I lift my head, start running like that. So I'm just going to keep my head tilted down. Breathe through the nose. I struggle to breathe through my nose because it's broken, but the plan is to go in through the nose, out through the mouth, and just work on my cadence. Hey, Jaina! Keep it on! Hopefully get to the end. Easy. Hasn't been stolen. Brilliant. I stopped after 11.5. I'm going to stretch my calves here. Bit of an incline to stretch them. Stopped after 11.5. I saw my friend Gina, so we spoke for probably 8 to 10 minutes. And I drank my water and dropped off my little pouch that's got my electrolytes in it. And then headed off, and I felt awesome. Calves were good, and I ran till about 14.5, and then turned around, and it was good. Started running some 4:30 splits at the end, which I'm stoked about. Average 4 minutes 51 per kilometre over 17k. And I felt like I could have gone for another 4 and bashed out a half marathon, but I didn't, because it is a deload week this week. But I'm happy I deloaded, because that was probably one of my best runs for a good while. And now I'm going to go to the supermarket and get a feed and then ice my calves.
So one of the important things to do, in my opinion, is soft tissue therapy. So I love to go to a massage therapist or to a physio and get my calves, quads and hamstrings massaged. But we're in lockdown, so can't do that, unfortunately. But what I can do is do it myself. So what I like to do is simple as a couple of dollars worth of baby oil and simply massage your quads and your calves and your hamstrings yourself. Now, I like to use my thumbs, and what I like to do is think about the muscles, think about in between the muscles, and run my thumbs through those grooves and really loosen up anything there. Now, I'll show you what I've been working on predominantly recently, but it is mainly my lower calf and the quads, and just trying to stay nice and limber. So I'll always do this first, then do my warm-up. So I'll show you this and I'll do my warm-up after. So I'm going to show you some techniques that I do for self-massage, and I've got a video of me doing some before a run, and I'll just voice over it and let you know the thoughts. I'm watching what you're watching, so I can kind of explain it as you're watching it. So you want to get some baby oil, I just use cheap as chips, and then put it on the area that you're wanting to massage. Now here with my calves, you'll see the main thing I'm focusing on is using my thumbs. So what I try and do is loosen it off, and I tend to have quite a few knots in my calves and stuff, as most people do. So to begin with, I'll just kind of loosen it off and try and work the thumbs through the kind of stickier points, or the bits where you feel a bit of a lump, a bit of a raise, and it's normally a bit kind of sensitive. And then what I'm looking for is lines within the muscle. I'm looking for kind of junctions in between where the muscles are on the calf, and I'm pulling back like that just to try to kind of keep the area warm in general. And I'm also digging my fingers in as I come back with that left hand. And then as you can see, the thumb tends to go down. I'm going to point out now these grooves here. So there's one in the middle of the calf there, and that's where I dig my thumb in and try and kind of loosen up the fascia and the muscles there, because that's where I find a lot of the pain sits. So now moving on to the quad, this tends to be a similar story. So loosen it up again with the fingers underneath, loosening up a bit of the hamstrings, and then the thumbs on top of the quad are kind of working in those quads. Your rec fem runs over the top of your vastus muscles, and you can really get down on top with your thumbs there and dig in, which I'll show you in a minute. Then when we look onto the vastus muscles, so we've got vastus medialis, vastus lateralis, vastus intermedialis. So this is VMO, it's often called, the medialis, and that for me gets particularly tight. What I'm doing here is with my thumbs, I'm working around the top of that VMO, and I'm trying to kind of squeeze around it so I can loosen it off. Now obviously I go through the muscle belly sometimes, but a lot of the time I'm kind of working around the muscle and trying to loosen off that particular area of the quad. This is going to that rec fem, so I'm digging the thumb in here, showing you a line of kind of where for me it gets particularly tight. And obviously you can foam roll, you can do all this stuff, but that particularly for me helps to loosen off those rec fem and quad areas, and especially the calf. So top tips would be get your thumb in, try and keep it nice and warm. Try and do this maybe 5 minutes before your warm up, and you'll find that it helps. And then do it when you get back from your run as well. I will sometimes ice bath, I will sometimes go to a river and just stand in it to cool down. And then the next day I'll also do something like this. So now I'm going to run through my warm up. So I never really used to run warm up before runs. I used to kind of just use the first K as a warm up. But recently I've started warming up my calves especially a lot more, trying to get my glutes activated. I'm going to do a whole new video on why glutes are important and why they take the load off the calves. But just for this one I want to show you kind of the routine that I do before I run. Now it's not extensive, it's not massive, it's not like hugely time consuming, it's maybe 5 to 7 minutes. But I do find that it makes a difference, and since I've been doing it, I've found that the niggles have decreased quite significantly. I start just with a few quad stretches. Again, I'm watching what you're watching. This was a particularly horrible day before a half marathon. I did 21.1k, and I'll just kind of loosen off the neck there, hamstrings, and then go into a bit of a deep squat and just loosen off a bit of the groin. Push the elbows into the inside of the legs and just kind of loosen that off. And then just a couple of calf raises just to warm the calves up a little bit. And then what I'm doing here is I'm doing a hip flexion to warm up the hip flexors, and then as I kick back I'm trying to tense the glutes. So I'm trying to really squeeze the glute, and you can see I put my hand on the glute there to try and activate it. And then here is more kind of like glute med, bit of glute max still when I go back, and that's again just trying to activate the glutes. So again I go back to a couple of calf raises just to start to warm them up, and then hip flexion into the glutes as well. If you put your hand on it, you can really feel when you squeeze it, and I find just activation exercises like this in your warm-up is really important. You don't want to be too static in your warm-up, like a lot of people statically stretch. I wouldn't recommend that. You can see with these I'm moving all the time, so just some split squats here, you know, some people will call it a lunge, whatever you want to call it, and that's just, I'm really working on trying to squeeze the glutes. Here, again, just a bit of a hip hinge, and I'm squeezing the glutes when I get to the top, and just hip hinge, trying to kind of loosen up the hamstrings a bit. And then I go back into the split squats. These will get the quad going. I trained legs 2 days before this run. It was a horrible run, but this definitely helped loosen me up before I went. And then I'll do some small calf jumps, just staying right on the balls of the feet there, and then some bigger ones, so more knee bend, higher, working with the arms to kind of pump yourself up like that. Then just a couple of heel flicks and high knees. And then these are just adductor primers, so inside of the thigh. So all I'm doing here is trying to squeeze those adductors, the inside of the thigh, to lift the leg up. I'm not swinging it, I'm actually contracting the adductors. And then again, I'm just touching the inside of my thigh. So I find this one, it works particularly well for adductors and a muscle called the sartorius, and you just kind of touch the inside of the heel there. And then what I'll do is standing and sitting calf raises, and this is because your calf has got two elements to it. It's got the gastroc and the soleus. So the gastroc is your gastrocnemius, which is your main muscle at the top of your calf, but then underneath that you got soleus, soleus, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of people won't warm up bent legged, but the soleus is responsible for when you calf raise with a bent leg, and then when you stand up straight, it brings gastroc on to work, and then when you do calf raises there, it switches on gastroc. So when you do warm up your calves, make sure you do them sitting, like I was there, and standing, so that it warms up both parts of the calf there. The reason for that is because gastroc crosses the knee joint, so when you actually come down like that, it takes gastroc off and mainly works on soleus, whereas soleus doesn't cross the knee joint. That's my warm-up. That's what I do at the moment to try and kind of stay injury free, prime myself before runs. I hope that was helpful. A bit of a longer video, a bit more of me running and stuff, but everything's going to plan. I've got in some sea swims. Haven't got on the bike yet, obviously. None of the bike shops are open. I want to make sure I do things properly when I get the bike, but I'm thinking of probably holding off the bike until we kind of come out of lockdown, at least, maybe a bit longer, just because it's coming into winter now. So obviously the turbo trainer in the garage would be a good idea, but I do have access to a spin studio at work that I can jump into a few classes, or jump in there on my lunch break and do some ride, or after work and do some ride classes virtually. My next video will be a 1K time trial. So the plan is to try and run 1 kilometer as fast as possible. I haven't been doing much speed work at the moment, tend to just trying to get the Ks in. So I'm intrigued to see where I am. My personal best before was around 3:32, 3:30 I think. So I'm hoping to break the 3:30 mark over 1K. And we'll see how we go. But if you have enjoyed that, please subscribe, comment, do whatever you want to do, and share it. And have a great day.